everybody. A very good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us for the Friday edition of Good Day Grenada. Can you believe it? Just like that. Another week gone. I certainly hope that as you opened your eyes this morning, you weren't just thankful that another week has come to an end, but instead, you're thankful that you're breathing. You still have the gift of life. What more could you ask for, huh? Well, let's be thankful. Just in case you forgot to do it this morning, let's be thankful. Before I get into the rundown, let me glance over here to the left. The race is on, man. I mean, just moments after I hit the button here to bring you guys up on Facebook, I see that she's heading for a hat trick. Hazel Ferguson. Hey, Hazel. Hazel has pulled it off again this morning. She's the first person to log on there this morning. Anthea just got beat by a nose. Anthea. And Peter Bishop's also there. He's saying good morning. And our good friend Kipling is reminding everybody to share. Yeah, share. Let everybody know that we're here. Hey, that rhymes. Share. Let everybody know we're here. Hey, man, I missed my calling. Hey? And who else? Hey, there's Deborah Parker. Hello, Debs. How are you doing? Having a lot of fun with your grands, I see. Girl. You are so blessed. So blessed. My deepest love to your family. Please give them all big hugs and kisses for Georgie boy. Arthur Langine is saying, good morning, Brother George. Hello, Brother Arthur. Good to see you last night and again this morning. Charmaine DeLeo, and I hope I'm pronouncing the last name properly, Charmaine. Charmaine is saying good morning to you guys, and our friend Claude Putna. Is it Pudna or Pudna? It's a U, right? So it would be Pud. All right. Claude Pudna is saying good morning, and our friend John, hold on a sec, let me see here. John says, good morning, Gigi. I can't sit down and dogo day because I'm counting my money. Becoming a regular comedian there, aren't you, John? Well, that's fine. That's fine, John. So good to see you, folks. All right, let's get down to business here this morning. We're going to be taking a look at very short, an invitation that has been extended by the U.S. Embassy here in Grenada. They're inviting all American citizens on the island to meet with Ambassador Linda Tagliatela. And the ambassador is going to be here for a town hall meeting. We'll give you the details about that in just a wee bit. Then, this morning, somebody sent me a very short video, which I thought was so hilarious. In one way, it's hilarious, right? But it's also very logical, and I think this is something that may have gone on in the British Parliament. It's captioned here, some much-needed logic, but no laughing matter. Think about that for a minute. It's not going to be long before we get to that. We're going to get to that in just a wee bit. We do have the national report for you this morning, as we normally do. And then, my dear friends, this being a Friday morning, we do have with us, I'm hoping, I haven't spoken to him, but he's always loyal, always there. I'm hoping to see Mr. Brian Pitt. And boy, you know what happens when Brian gets going, huh? Yeah. I'm not yet sure, depending on what time Brian shows up, I may decide to go with Brian before we do the national report, but if he's not here, when we should be getting to the national report, then we will simply go with the national report and then use Brian a little later. Hang on a sec now. Hang on a sec. Hang on a sec. Let me see what's going on here. My little, okay, there we go. There we go. All righty, folks. Let's get down to business here this morning. U.S. citizens in Grenada are being invited to a town hall meeting with Ambassador Linda Tagliatela and the consular staff. The town hall meeting is going to take place on the 4th of September. Let me see now. Sunday is the 1st, Monday is the 2nd, Tuesday the 3rd, so this has got to be Wednesday, okay? U.S. citizens who wish to attend must RSVP by email to, and here's the email address, and by the way, it's up on the GRENADABROADCAST.com website, St. George's ACS, St. George's ACS at state.gov, no later than 12 noon on Tuesday, September 3rd. The email must include the full name and date of birth of each U.S. citizen attending. Prior to the meeting, those who sent an RSVP will receive a confirmation email with details about the meeting, including the time and location. Notice I have not mentioned either of those, right? But they're going to send you that by email. For entry to the town hall meeting, very important here, if you want to get in to that town hall meeting, participants will be required to bring their U.S. passport or other photo ID and proof of U.S. citizenship. How about that? Okay? So that's a note from the U.S. Embassy, which came in yesterday. And since I know that many of you listening are American citizens, thought I should share that with you. Just back here now. Let's see here. Let's get back to social media for just a wee bit. Arthur Langine says, "Oh no, Brother George, not again." I'm not sure what he's referring to this time around. But therefore, let's get right into our second little piece here this morning. Somebody sent me this, and I thought, yeah, I got a real chuckle out of it. But if you listen to what this gentleman is saying, it makes a lot of sense. You know, we talk about all the debt that our country is in, and Grenada is not unique. Other countries in the same mess. But somehow it seems like the logic just does not strike home as far as politicians are concerned. Check this out.
I'm a baby boomer. I was born just after the war. We've probably had the longest period of peace and prosperity globally, I would say, from that time. I've put a little bit of modest money away so I can hand something down to my family when I pass on, largely because I've never spent more money than I've earned, and I've been prudent, and I've worked moderately hard. Now, it always seems to me as a complete surprise to politicians how countries get in debt. Let me explain, because I don't think you really understand it. It's because politicians consistently spend more money than they raise in taxation, more money than they can possibly raise in taxation, most of which, in point of fact, they actually waste. The reason we're talking about countries which are broke, and they are broke, is because their ridiculous, ineffective, ignorant politicians consistently spend more money than they can raise. and then they borrow, and they borrow, and worse, they then print money because politicians and their central banks have a machine which prints money. You do that as a private citizen and it's a criminal offence. You would go to prison for doing that, and politicians and their central banks do it all the time. Let me explain to you that these countries are broke, and they are broke because of their own stupid leadership and politicians, and it is immoral to ask ordinary taxpayers of any country to pick up the tab for failed politicians and failed banks. They are defaulted. They are broke. For God's sake, let us all of us admit it.
Now, let's be honest. Be honest with me. You don't have to agree with me. But as you watched and listened to that, did you see or hear anything which could teach us here a lesson? You see, it's not just here. It's not just here. It doesn't make it right, but it's not just here. That we just don't seem to understand the rationale of trying to bring in more money than we're putting out. Instead of every time you find the coffer gets a little bit low, you take a hat, jump on an airplane, and go around the world begging, begging, begging. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Yeah. This man made a very important point about what would happen if that sort of behavior was being practiced in the private sector. Not that it doesn't. It does happen there, but anyhow. John says here, the net dropped out through that video. Well, so far, John, everything's going hunky-dory here. Just let me do a little refresh again and make sure that I'm correct on that. Yeah, man. I'm seeing this picture of this ugly guy there. Yeah, everything's fine here. And he also says, asked the question a little while ago, what's so secret about the U.S. town hall meeting? I don't know, John. You may have to attend to find out, or drop a line to the U.S. Embassy at the address that I gave to you just a few minutes ago, and ask them. And Benedict Cador has also just chimed in, and he's saying, fantastic Friday. Yeah, man. Boy, you know, last night I took a look at the satellite picture out across the Atlantic. Looks like we have a few good days of beautiful, beautiful sunshine, which means that we may be in for a great weekend. I'm not a forecaster, but I'm just saying that based on the satellite picture, very, very clear, very free of any huge cloud shields or anything. So it's okay. And John is acknowledging now that he says, that must be my end then, George. Yeah, it could be, John. Hey, we know what your internet is like in Carriacou, don't we? I am still just itching to come up to Carriacou and Petit Martinique and do either a Sundays with George Grant or even one of these programs. But, my dear friends, I'm a little bit antsy about the internet service up there. We have subjected our audience, that's you and me, to enough over the past 8 months or so, after the past year. And right now, things are going hunky-dory, and I don't want to take you back into those old days. Arthur Langine says, this gentleman is speaking the truth, and I wish our PM might be listening. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you could relate to what you just heard there. All righty, folks. Let me take a little break here, and we'll come back. I haven't seen Brian, so take a little break, and we'll come back with the National Report.
We are honored to partner with the Grenada Schools, Inc., the Ministry of Education, and the Caliste Government School in providing this library. GCPI program put $120,000 or 66% of the cost of the library. But it's not an investment that is intended to bring a financial return. It is an investment in the human capital of our youth in Grenada.
GRENLEC has shown us their seriousness about partnership, their seriousness about education, and their seriousness about nation building. That local partnership tells our major donors that Grenada is interested.
We have got a big vision at Grenada Schools. We believe that what we can do is, through literacy, have the most literate country in the Caribbean. We are very happy that you've got this gift from ourselves and from GRENLEC.
We see this library as a unique and valuable resource. One of the best things about receiving this library is that it honors and recognizes the efforts and contributions of a company like GRENLEC and Grenada Schools Incorporated.
Since 1994, GRENLEC shareholders have invested over $22 million. This has been invested in the communities throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. We hope this library will serve the students and school well for many years to come.
You don't know how many hurricanes will be coming this season, so you need to be prepared. At Hubbard's Hardware and Building Supply Departments and Food Fair Supermarkets, everything from canned foods, flashlights and batteries, to plywood, tarpaulin, lanterns, roof repair kits, water tanks, etc. are available. For over 90 years, we've helped you prepare for and recover from storms. Hubbard's Hardware, Food Fair Supermarkets, and the Grenadian General Insurance, an integral part of your hurricane preparedness plan.
Studying too hard about back-to-school expenses? Co-op Bank is making back to school as easy as 1, 2, 3. Enjoy competitive interest rates, affordable monthly payments, speedy decisions on applications. Come in and apply today.
$5 million Holy Cross RC School project officially handed over. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Thursday, August 29th, I am Rakisha St. Louis. The new U.S. $5.3 million school complex for the Holy Cross RC School in Munich, St. Andrew, was officially handed over during a ceremony on Wednesday, August 28th, at the new school location adjacent to the original school building. This project is part of the U.S. $32.2 million Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project. Annette Moore reports on the handing over ceremony, which was attended by Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, government ministers, and other officials.
Work began on the new school building on June 19, 2017, with a sod-turning ceremony which marked the commencement of work on June 23rd of that year. Work was expected to be completed by June 2018, but due to several delays was completed approximately 1 year later in 2019. Principal of the Holy Cross RC School, Edlyn Ruffin Modeste, expressed her gratitude for the new facilities.
Last, we have an environment that is conducive for learning, that is geared towards maximizing its occupants' fullest potentials, and for that we are grateful. This facility provides the ideal learning environment for students and the teaching environment desired and coveted by many.
The prior school building, which was destroyed by Hurricane Ivan in September 2004, housed approximately 200 students. Later in 2004, the school population was relocated to another location about a mile away from the original school grounds in the R.C. Church Parish Hall, which also serves as a community center for Munich and the surrounding communities.
It was very uncomfortable because termites used to be falling down in our hair, and every Saturdays I have to be washing my hair.
Ministers Pear and Bain Horsford thanked the community, staff of the school, and the parents for their patience during the relocation process.
I therefore wish to recognize and particularly commend the staff, students, and parents for your patience demonstrated. Whilst operations continued in an environment that was visibly deteriorating day by day.
I wish to applaud the parents and guardians who took the decision to keep your children in the Holy Cross RC School, even while the conditions were less than adequate. You gave a new lease. You gave a new lease to life to the school, of life to the school. Your decision is what made today possible.
The school, which is now located on an elevation adjacent to the old school building, comprises a two-story main building with a single-story annex linked by a covered walkway. The main building contains 8 classrooms on the upper floor and 3 classrooms on the lower floor, a pre-primary school, a computer and audiovisual laboratory, home economics center, staff room, and library. The annex comprises a student washroom, kitchen and lunchrooms, woodwork shop, and storage and janitorial facilities. The school property will also be fenced. Education Minister Honorable Emmeline Pear expressed her hope of seeing an increase in the enrollment at the Holy Cross RC School given the excellent new facilities available. She also encouraged the community to utilize the facility for the pursuit of lifelong learning and noted that this project is one of many in government's efforts to refurbish and rebuild schools damaged by Hurricanes Ivan and Emily. Many of the upcoming rebuilding and refurbishing projects will be executed as part of the CDB-funded Education Enhancement Project, while there is now also institutional support for the purpose of ensuring adequate school maintenance and repairs.
I extend a special thank you to all stakeholders who have supported this rebuilding project. The Ministry of Education now craves your support in the maintenance of this very attractive facility and its environs.
Today, I am extremely pleased to witness the official opening of the Holy Cross RC School. I breathe a sigh of relief as the constant queries from the people of Munich and surrounding areas seeking answers as to when Munich will get its school is something of the past. Having said this, I wish to remind you that an opportunity delayed is not an opportunity denied.
The Prime Minister updated the community on his foundation for giving back to the education sector and community, which is now providing 7-year scholarships to new secondary school students. He spoke on government's achievements in securing funding for social projects to include education. He expressed thanks to educators for their hard work in helping to achieve commendable exam results for 2019 and stated his team's overall commitment to providing equitable access to high-quality education and social services.
I'm so happy for this beautiful facility that you have. And as the minister said, I hope that we'll see more and more students returning back to the community, because it is so easy to be here and to have to take buses up and down to travel to Grenville.
It's very spacious, no accident on the other side. Before they make 2 little footsteps, they reach in the road, and that was dangerous for them. But they have it all here now. So I would like to thank the government of Grenada to finding time out to see us struggling under the tent first, and then in the wooden ply that we had a lot of wood ants eating out the books. We had to just get rid of them. So I want to thank them for that.
It's big, and I hope children come, and I love it.
It's important, yeah. Shelters, yeah, kitchen, yeah, enough respect.
For the National Report, I'm Annette Moore.
Thank you, Annette. Grenada stands to benefit tremendously from Six Senses Hotel's social responsibility program. The hotel's program is focused on community and educational development and scholarship grants. Six Senses Mohammed Asaria says 1% of the resort's revenue will be placed in a special fund to boost Grenada's economy. He says the fund can be injected into any project or program to enhance communities and the hospitality sector.
Range and Six Senses have agreed on a number of community initiatives, including for 1% of the resort's revenue to be placed in a fund to assist Grenada. Tens of thousands of hours of community service are mandatory upon the hotel employees, as well as a number of hospitality scholarships being granted. This is all in addition to Range's active corporate social responsibility program, which is centered around children, families, entrepreneurs across the communities in which we operate. Our philosophy is simple. You have welcomed us, and we must integrate. It is our duty to do so. And by this time next year, you will see this.
The investors will commence the humanitarian project by donating school bags and wheelchairs to schools and the health sector in the coming weeks.
In the next few weeks, we'll be distributing thousands of school bags and hundreds of wheelchairs as our first initiative on the island.
Asaria says the social responsibility program can help to redirect Grenada's focus and reliance on imports.
From the outset, we commit we will integrate with the communities to ensure maximum local consumption and employment. Reliance on imports must be a fading strategy. And as soon as Six Senses operation starts up, we will connect with all categories of producers so the local supply chain can be as effective as possible. Again, you have our word. The benefits of this project will be felt island-wide.
This is the National Report. We'll have more news after the break.
Big business don't participate.
Welcome back. Fifth form and first semester students at TAMCC will be equipped with adequate knowledge on how to survive college on Saturday during an online seminar. The forum has been organized by Ms. Rosalind Douglas, Chief Facilitator of ICON Leadership Seminar and Coaching Services. For the first time, students will get help changing their mindset from secondary school to tertiary life at no cost.
We know students have received the results and they're getting ready to start college, and in some cases have begun. And I really wanted them to have information that can start to shift their mind. They're in a different level of study. It's different from secondary school.
Of course.
And the topics that will be covered during the online seminar, which is on the web-based program Zoom, then we'll be able to cover those important topics.
Douglas says the facilitators will cover topics like study habits, safety, what lecturers expect, and resume. She says the online platform Zoom will be an interactive one.
The great thing about Zoom is that they can ask questions, they can type questions and use emojis to say thumbs up, I understand, and that makes it interactive with myself and the different speakers.
Parents will also be engaged during the seminar. Douglas says the sessions will help parents make the transition and support their child's tenure at the college.
I say parents because their child has been in high school or secondary school for 5 years. They've been used to the routine. I understand that some parents can feel disconnected, not quite clear in terms of what new needs their child may have. And so being part of that process in hearing this information can indeed be useful.
The seminar runs from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday, August 31st. Finally, in the news, a report on the status of styrofoam and plastic bag bans in the wider Caribbean, published by the UN's Caribbean Environment Program, states that the Caribbean is the second most plastic-contaminated sea in the world after the Mediterranean Sea. Estimations of the volume of plastic waste in the region range from 600 to 1,414 plastic items per square kilometer in different locations. In the Caribbean, plastic waste makes up a large proportion of debris reaching the sea from sources on land. In the ocean, it harms marine life, threatens ecosystems, health, and the region's tourism-based economy. The report states that plastic pollution not only diminishes the natural beauty for which the islands are known, it also compromises the role of the ocean as a provider of food, other resources, and livelihoods. In February 2017, the United Nations Environment Program launched the Clean Seas campaign to engage governments, the public, civil society, and the private sector in the fight against marine plastic litter. It aimed to address the root cause of marine litter by targeting the production and consumption of non-recoverable and single-use plastic by engaging citizens to address the problem in their daily lives. By April 2019, 9 countries in the wider Caribbean region had joined 60 other nations in the Clean Seas campaign. They include Grenada, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Lucia, Trinidad and Tobago, and Barbados. That story just ended the National Report for today, Thursday, August 29th. Let's recap the top story. $5 million Holy Cross RC School project officially handed over. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rakisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Alrighty, folks, remember that was last night's national report. Now, I'm going to take the lead this morning in comments. That story towards the end there about the Caribbean Sea being the second dirtiest ocean in the world, or the second dirtiest mass of water in the world when it comes to plastic contaminants. Isn't it ironic that we're seeing that this morning when only yesterday, I think it was, I did a piece on the albatross and what is happening to these birds out in the Pacific. Do you recall those, the horrendous pictures of not only these birds taking their last gasp on the beach and dying, but also the junk that was recovered from their stomachs? Do you remember that? If you didn't see that, you go take a look at yesterday's program. It's on the GRENADABROADCAST.com website, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. There's also a comment here from John about the story regarding the new RC school. John says, 15 years to rebuild? Didn't they ask Rome for help? Yeah, Mr. Funny Bunny John, I hear you loud and clear. And he also says, read the Sixth Census social scheme. You heard there that Sixth Census is going to allot 1% of their budget, or their profits, I'm not sure which one, to social programs in Grenada. And John says just 1%, yet GRENADAB was asked for 5%. Well, in all fairness, I don't think GRENADAB was asked. I think GRENADAB volunteered to give 5%. Okay? So let's try and get that straight. I also want to acknowledge the fact that Helen Ann Wendy Bishop is with us. We have a couple of Gemmas with us this morning. Gemma with one M, Gemma Cecilia Roberts, and Gemma with two M's, Gemma Andrew Church. Anthony DeRiggs is also there. And take a look. See this character? Boy, I'm anxious to find out whether he was on the beach this morning or not. I wasn't. Okay? So we're going to find out whether or not Brian made it to the beach this morning. But first, let's take a little break. We'll come on back.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
In our part of the world, we need to be prepared for natural disasters like storms and hurricanes, even outside of the season. I'm sure you'll agree that keeping our loved ones, homes, and businesses safe is important. So, I came up with a few quick tips to help you stay safe. First, make a family disaster plan and ensure that everyone in your household is familiar and comfortable with it. Remember to add batteries and flashlights to your emergency kit. Now, for electrical safety. Familiarize yourself with your electrical panel, as it may be necessary to switch off the power during a storm or flood. Make sure you install a transfer or isolation switch to prevent your generator feeding electricity to GRENADAB's line. If trees are too close to power lines, call GRENADAB at 237 for advice. By following these easy steps, you will be well on your way to being hurricane ready. Don't be caught off guard by natural disasters. Prepare now. For more information, visit GRENADAB.com.
Studying too hard about back-to-school expenses? Co-op Bank is making back to school as easy as 1, 2, 3. Enjoy competitive interest rates, affordable monthly payments, speedy decisions on applications. Come in and apply today.
Alrighty, folks, there he is. Now, before I unleash Mr. Pitt this morning, let me make myself comfortable here in my chair. Good morning, Mr. Pitt. How are you, sir?
Good morning, George. I am great. And yourself?
I'm fine, but I'm assuming that you're great because you went to the beach this morning?
Yes, and I had my helping of grapes. I noticed you were absent.
Yeah. Brian, I was
Your companions was on the beach this morning.
Yes, I noticed. They actually called me at about 8 minutes after 5 o'clock this morning. George, we're on the way to get you. No, you're not, because I ain't going anywhere this morning. I was just too bushed, but I really missed it.
Yes.
How was it this morning?
It's a good place to start the day, George, and I noticed that the seaweed is now in season, so the beach is kind of infested with seaweed.
Oh, really? I was there yesterday. I didn't see any seaweed.
Oh, there was some there this morning. So we have to be careful.
Okay. Well, Mr. Pitt, what has transpired between last Friday morning and now that may have riled you up or not?
Well, George, let me start this morning with you commenting on a lecture by the press secretary to the Prime Minister to the media.
Yes, sir.
And I tell you why I'm going to start there, George, because I want to approach this from a different perspective. You have heard of the Integrity in Public Life Commission, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
The act that governs that commission talks about conflict of interest. And in particular, it talks about conflict of interest as it relates to public officers, whether they are married, who are their families, etc., etc. George, you see where I'm going with this?
Go ahead.
So if the press secretary was familiar with the act that set up the Integrity for Public in Public Life legislation, and in fact that commission, the question of a marital status of a public officer is relevant and important.
She didn't
Am I
think
not
so.
correct, George?
Yes, but she didn't think so.
As a matter of fact, I noticed the former Attorney General talking about a letter to that commission recently, and whether or not there is conflict of interest in the appointment of somebody in the Ministry of Finance. So it is of public interest to Grenadians to know the marital status of those people who represent us. Am I not correct, George?
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
So if that young lady did her homework, I think that she is labeling the lack of respect in the wrong place. Now, I suspect that the people or the media representatives who were at that press briefing were not familiar with the act that governs the integrity in public life. Otherwise, they would have raised the point. Because any member of the public with information relative to what could be considered conflict of interest could raise it to the commission, you know. And I could only know that, George, about you if I know that you're married or not. Okay, George?
No comment from me. Never been married. So don't go there, Brian. Don't go there.
So I think that the media or those people who attend these Tuesday press briefings should be familiar with a lot of these things that govern what they're talking about, and in fact raise the relevant points.
Okay, but Brian, stick up in there for a minute, Brian. Both you and I know that a lot of people in the media today are not trained. You're correct.
Yes,
they should be
yes,
familiar,
yes.
but they just don't know. But for this lady, I would assume that as press secretary to the nation's prime minister,
yes,
she should have known better.
Well, you see, maybe in the next press briefing to that one, the media should have done their homework and come back to her and say, but listen, Madam Press Secretary, these are the facts. Would you like to comment? You see, there's a follow-up meeting all the time, George, so there's time to do your homework.
You know, I was pleased to see on Facebook sometime yesterday, I think it was, that a couple of former presidents of the Media Workers Association, because by the way, up to now, MWAG has not come out and issued any statement about that. None. Okay?
Because the president of MWAG, George, works for the GIS.
Exactly. Exactly. But a couple of former presidents of MWAG expressed their disappointment at what transpired at that cabinet briefing. And I was happy to see that. Now, a spokesperson for MWAG also said that MWAG would be issuing a statement later on this week. Should I hold my breath waiting to see that statement? Today is Friday.
No, George, if it happens, it happens. Don't hold your breath.
Okay.
Let's move on.
John Kennison here says, the press secretary was just reading what was given to her. And you know, I alluded to that. I made it clear in my statement, which you saw, that I didn't know whether she was doing that under her own steam or whether or not, you know, it was a result of pressure being applied in certain quarters, you know. But I'll tell you, if she did that under her own steam, I'm really sad. Anyhow, like you said, let's move on.
All right. But you see, George, let me make one final comment before I leave this subject. Did you hear recently the President of the United States talking about being the chosen one?
Yes.
You know, and that hits some people in some places that I won't want to describe on your program, George. But this is the way he felt. Because he believes that everything he says is the truth, even though it's not.
Yeah.
So he's the chosen one. Could you imagine how a politician who has won 15 seats 3 times feel about this subject of being the chosen one? Let's leave that there, George.
Let's leave that there. Dogo Day. By the way, speaking about Dogo Day, Mr. Pitt, and before you move on to whatever else you want, would you hold your mug up for me, please? I saw you flashing a mug a little while ago. If I'm not mistaken, I see a little. Ah, there it is. It's a flowery mug. Am I right?
Yes, it's a flower mug.
All right. Well, Mr. Pitt, I got a brand new mug yesterday. Take a look. Can you see?
Yeah. Yes, George. Yes, George.
Collector's
Yes, George.
item, man.
You know, the good thing about that statement is creating some merchandise and somebody's gonna make some money. As a matter of fact, the person who said that should register that comment and make sure that he has a percentage of all the revenue that comes in from that statement.
Well, you know, I told the person who sent this to me that if he decides to make this a commercial venture, man, I don't have any money to invest, but you know, I could certainly spread the word out there that this product is available. So, don't
George,
hey?
another very topical, because we went quickly run out of time. Is this
Hey, hold on.
Yeah. Okay.
You ain't running out of no time.
Okay, all right.
But Margaret says that is the problem. The MWAG statement should have been issued immediately at best, or within 24 hours at worst.
Yes, Margaret is absolutely right.
She's absolutely right. All right. Now, move on to whatever else is irking you, Pilgrim.
The NIS, George. We are about to increase the contribution to the NIS
January.
to 11%. Pardon me?
January next year?
Oh, it's no longer the 1st of September?
No. I think it's gone to January now.
All right, okay. Well, we are going to increase it to 11%. 1% to employees and 1% to the employers. Because there seemed to be a recurring shortfall in the contributions collected and the amounts being paid out, George.
Yep.
And I couldn't help but ask myself the question, is NIS getting this thing right? Why is the contributions falling? Is it because unemployment is increasing and as a result, contributions are not coming in? Is it because more people are being self-employed? I don't know whether or not we've done the necessary
research
on this problem, you know, George, because if we are not doing the necessary research and we might very well find ourselves increasing the percentage year in, year out in order to meet our targets without finding out what the true problem is. Yes? Mm-hmm. Because, George, you have the same amount of people or more people coming out of school. I don't believe our birth rate is that much affected, has fallen off that much, so we can say that is the result of the decrease in contribution. We have to find out why and do something about it. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble. Mm-hmm. Because, as I said on this program some time ago, George, there are a lot of people who are unemployed that are not looking for work. What are they doing? Are they gainfully employed in some area that they are not making a contribution? And could that be considered self-employment? Mm-hmm. Is this contract work affecting the contributions to the NIS? The NIS must ask itself some very important questions and find the answers to them. Otherwise, this program is going to be in jeopardy.
Do you think the shortage of funds at the NIS could be the reason why we have not heard in recent times of demands being made by the government on the NIS coffers? When was the last time you heard the government go into the NIS for funds?
Well,
Been a while.
See, George, the beauty about having 15 seats in Parliament is that a lot of these things can happen. You don't know about it yet. The government may very well. I think the government controls the members of the board of that organization, and I don't know whether or not the persons who represent the trade unions or who else on that commission will report to us what happens inside the walls of a board meeting.
Yeah.
It might very well be happening, and we don't know about it.
Yeah. But I just found it noticeable. Anyhow, go ahead.
George, this whole GRENLEC issue, and you mentioned it just now, is becoming bothersome. It's becoming bothersome because we continue to go down the road of a fight with GRENLEC. And I noticed, if correct, that we lost another round in the court to GRENLEC.
Yes.
And this fight seemed to be a personal fight, George. And if this is going to continue, it will continue to cost the people of Grenada a considerable amount of money. When is it going to stop? Because I don't believe that there's any signal that this thing is going to stop it.
You know, I think a lot of people are looking and waiting very, very impatiently for the outcome of the recent hearing at the Court of Justice. I think that's due sometime in September, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Because let me tell
well,
you.
Let's hope that will put an end to this craziness, because it's going to end up costing the people of Grenada and the taxpayers the hell out.
Well, now that's contradictory. You're saying put an end to it. If GRENLEC wins, this country loses big time. Because
yes, and if the government wins, we might be in some other trouble, because they're now controlling that 5% fund, which they can do whatever they want to do with it. And they might have to run this electricity company for a while until they find somebody who is knowledgeable in the field to take it in.
Yeah. Margaret says the GRENLEC fight is personal.
It is personal, and I think we all know that. And most of the enablers are refusing to accept that and debate it. This is all personal.
John says, Brian, definitely more than the 5% they wanted. In other words, it's going to cost the government a lot more than the 5% they've been trying to weasel out of GRENLEC.
And the fallout to the people of Grenada are going to be even worse, because a lot of the social programs that GRENLEC is now funding, that GRENLEC finds interesting to the betterment of Grenada itself, that might not be the same as the government of Grenada. The government of Grenada has particular interests. They have an interest in winning seats. They have an interest in staying in power. So their objectives might be a little different.
Now, if Margaret is right when she says here that the fight is personal, doesn't that dull the hopes for GRENLEC? I mean, I'm sure the court's going to recognize something here and say, hey, listen, man, you didn't have a shot in the first place. Why don't you keep your tail quiet?
Well, anybody reading that file, George, that goes back to Gregory Bowen being the manager of GRENLEC, I believe will come away with that conclusion, that it has become personal over time. And I don't think that even those people involved in the fight right now will disagree that there is some personal interest attached to it. Mm-hmm. Yeah? So I don't know where we're going with this.
All right, I'm sure.
I want to end on two subjects.
Go ahead.
I know to cover another time. I think it was Friday. Today is Friday. Thursday. Thursday, I was in the Grand Dance area, and there was an event at the Grand Dance playing field. George, I don't know if you're aware of it. This event apparently was someone, a Grenadian living outside of Grenada, who came and were distributing books and school supplies in the playing field in Grand Dance. They had tents set up, and George, I have never seen in one assembly more people, parents and children, waiting to get something free to send their children back to school. When I looked at the crowd, George, I'm saying to myself, but if this event did not take place, where would these parents be getting school supplies and other things to send their kids back to school in September. There were thousands of people there, George. What tells me there's something wrong? Yeah? Are the parents meeting their obligations, their financial obligations, to get their kids back to school in September? Do they all need help? And do we have to get some more philanthropists like this lady giving out school supplies in order that these parents can meet their children's obligations?
The parents are scrunting, Brian. Scrunting.
I know, George, and if that is so, what are we doing about it?
Yada, yada, yada.
I tell you something, George. There was a, what was it, a conference, I believe, held in Grenada recently about trafficking, human trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct, George?
I heard about that.
I heard recently about human trafficking, and they were trying to explain to our young people that they should not fall for some of these attractive-looking things that appear on the internet, promising you jobs where it might be for something else. But if unemployment is high, George, and a lot of our young people are not getting sustainable employment, would they not be tempted by some of these things that appear on the internet?
Yeah.
And as a result, getting into trouble?
Yeah.
George, we have to see beyond our noses. And you know, we broke ground on another hotel recently, and I asked myself the question, how many jobs are going to be created, and what kind of jobs are going to be created by these groundbreakings all over the country? We seem to have a one-dimensional kind of economy, George, and we're going to get into trouble sooner than later. Our young people get into trouble sooner than later if we continue this trend in the development of this country.
Well, being somebody with big floppy ears, which are always wide open, I'm sure that you have heard that there's another issue brewing, this time around the Citizenship by Investment program.
Yes, George, and because we, over time, have acquired a lot of land from a lot of people, George, in the public interest. And a lot of the land that has been acquired in the public interest for so-called hotel projects that fell apart is still out there and is handed from one developer to the other. And people are not being compensated. Yeah. And that is going to come back to haunt us, George. We have to find a way of compensating people if we're going to acquire land in the public interest.
Yeah.
And the court might be very well becoming aware of this situation, George, and decided to do something about it.
Yes, I saw that they've taken action. All right, Brian, I know you're anxious to get out of here, but a couple of comments very quickly. Peter Bishop says, and Brian, that event in Grand Anse, lots of children walked away empty-handed because there was not enough for all who attended.
I would want to believe that to be true, George. The amount of kids I saw there, this one person could not have had the supplies to give to everybody.
Donna Joseph says, Brian, lots of those parents voted out the free school book program because they'd rather become dependent instead of become independent in order to feed themselves and their children. I may sound cold, but that's the reality.
One of the bigger realities, George, is that political parties from time to time create the politics of dependence. We are not all born equal, George. Some of us are slow developers, some are fast developers. So we have to look after those people who cannot look after themselves. I'm a socialist, basically, George. So social programs are important. You know, we can't just write them off because somebody get them a work, and as long as they get that $400 every week, they're contented with that and continue to make sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Pitt.
Thank you, George. Have an excellent weekend.
You too, sir.
Studying too hard about back-to-school expenses? Co-op Bank is making back to school as easy as 1, 2, 3. Enjoy competitive interest rates, affordable monthly payments, speedy decisions on applications. Come in and apply today.
Welcome. Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
Mm-mm. I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this.
Where you get that?
At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who's supporting the environment. That is why I shop in that food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
Alrighty, folks, just before we go, our good friend Ryan Jabon, who is located in Orlando, Florida, just posted a little note here saying that he's waiting to be slammed by Dorian. Yeah, Ryan, we've been monitoring that, and our prayers go out. Hope that you'll be safe, my friend. We've survived a lot worse. You guys are going to be okay. Hang in there. Let's see. He also has an invitation from Benedict Cador. He says, you can come on up to Georgia. Esther Morgan, good morning. You're showing up for the very bye-bye. Thanks a lot anyway for showing up. My dear friends, one parting word for this week's series of Gudday Grenadas. It's an inspirational which comes to you from the book of Job. Job chapter 24, verses 22, 23, 24. But God drags away the mighty by his power. Though they become established, they have no assurance of life. He may let them rest in a feeling of security, but his eyes are on their ways. For a little while, they are exalted, and then they're gone. They are brought low and gathered up like all others. They are cut off like heads of grain. Apropos, Job 24, 22 to 24. Donna Joseph says, first of all, Ryan Jabon says, Job is my favorite book. Then Donna says, George, I'm a single parent of now 3 adult children, and I never sat down on my backside and depended on no one for a government nor government minister to help me. I was a teenage mother, and I took my responsibilities as seriously as I am still taking on my responsibilities. I went out to work to feed myself and my children. Some of those young parents today have their priorities upside down, and they expect someone to always give to them. Gospel truth, Donna. Gospel truth. Thank you so much, my dear friends. I've kept you guys 4.5 minutes over time. Let's bail out. You have a great weekend. And by the way, this weekend we have another really exciting edition of Sundays with George Grant. 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. Spread the word. We're on GrenadaBroadcast.com, the website. We're on Facebook.com/GrenadaBroadcast. We're on YouTube, all over the place. Be sure to join us, my dear friends. It's been a great week. Thank you so much, and may God bless and keep you.